In today's episode, let's talk about how Mercedes has fired a warning to Ferrari and Red Bull for the victory challenge at Singapore. Ferrari aims to bring 2 more major upgrades to the F175, starting from Singapore, and what are the chances of Max Verstappen winning the Drivers' Championship as early as at the Singapore Grand Prix? So, let's get started. After a tough start to the campaign, after the sport's 2022 rules reset, the Silver Arrows have gradually worked their way back into contention behind pace setters, Red Bull and Ferrari. Despite their form ebbing and flowing based on track characteristics, George Russell and Lewis Hamilton have bagged 13 podiums between them to bring Mercedes to within 35 points of second-placed Ferrari after 16 races. Assessing the team's 2022 progress in their Italian Grand Prix debrief video, Elliott said, "We've had some good races, and we've had some not-so-good races. But I think what's really encouraging is the understanding that's coming from the simulation work that we're doing, and the understanding that's coming from the wind tunnel. It's allowing us to work out why our performance is going up and down, what we need to get back into the fight right at the front, and what we need to do over the winter. I think they're the key things." As for Mercedes' immediate goals, he added, "We want to try and fight Ferrari for that P2 position. We want to try and win a race this season, or multiple races ideally. And most of all, we want to get ourselves back on track so we're fighting properly for a championship next year." Mike Elliott is aiming for a strong performance from Sir Lewis Hamilton and George Russell at the 2022 Singapore Grand Prix. Generally, downforce-oriented circuits have been Mercedes' friend thus far in 2022, evidenced by their results in Spain and Hungary in particular. But, Mike Elliott also added that the weakness of the W13 might come into play. Elliott pointed out that the Singapore is a bumpy circuit, and might be challenging considering the W13's nature and previous experiences on bumpy tracks, but hopes to have less effect due to the controlling of the porpoising phenomenon. Meanwhile, Mercedes drivers Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are skeptical that F1's next Grand Prix in Singapore will provide them with an opportunity to score the Silver Arrows' first win of the 2022 season. "It's going to take some real doing to beat that car. Performance-wise they, meaning Red Bull, are fully ahead of everyone. We haven't caught them and we don't have upgrades coming to overtake them, so it's going to take some fortune going our way. Not impossible, because we could potentially have beaten them in Zandvoort, maybe could have beaten them in Budapest," said Lewis Hamilton to media. On the other side, George Russell believes that it's hard for the team to win the Singapore Grand Prix considering the nature of the circuit. "I think, on paper, Singapore should suit our car, but when we look back at the street circuits of Monaco and Azerbaijan, our car doesn't fare too well over the bumps," said Russell. "We're not too sure how it will fall out. But we need to keep on pushing, keep on improving the car, and I'm pleased that we've got a clear direction we need to go now," said George Russell. "So, let's face it. It's some statement by the Brackley Brixworth-based team. No upgrades on the pipeline for Singapore, but they hope the track suits their car as Zandvoort did, to bring the challenge to Red Bull and Ferrari." Ferrari plans to bring 2 major upgrades to the F175, starting from Singapore. Ferrari was a rejuvenated team after the summer break, aiming to bring the challenge to Max Verstappen and Red Bull. But, after the triple header done and dusted, it's 3 wins for Red Bull and none for Ferrari. But, their display at Monza has given them more energy to keep the challenge open. To bring the challenge effectively, they report that for Singapore an upgrade to the floor and the wings will be introduced, with the Singapore Grand Prix seen as a great opportunity to end Verstappen's winning streak at 5. This upgrade is made considering the car's performance before and after Paul Ricard. Want to know what went wrong with Ferrari? Watch the video linked in the description below. Coming back to Singapore upgrades, Ferrari is effectively reverting to pre-Paul Ricard floor, due to data pointing out that the old floor is able to use the ground effect much effectively than the new floor, to generate downforce. Therefore, this new floor is brought to Singapore, with the combination of a new rear wing of less downforce when compared with the rear wing used in Zandvoort, to reduce the drag and improve straight-line speed, improve tire degradation factor and the cornering ability of the F175. Max Verstappen is on course to win the World's Drivers' Championship title, as early as at Singapore. Having won 11 races so far this season, and the last 5 on the bounce, Red Bull driver Verstappen heads to the Marina Bay Street circuit 116 points clear of Ferrari rival Leclerc, with teammate Sergio Perez 9 points further back. Simply put, to wrap up the title in the city-state, and add to his 2021 crown. The Dutchman needs to outscore Leclerc by 22 points, Perez by 13 and Mercedes' George Russell by 6. Under the current F1 point system, 2-5, 1-8, 1-5, 1-2, 1-0, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, and a bonus point for fastest lap. It means there are various permutations to consider for the Singapore round, albeit with a Verstappen title win relying on trouble for nearest competitor Leclerc. In the event of another Verstappen race win, the title would go his way if Leclerc finishes 9th or lower, while Perez would need to be 4th or lower without the fastest lap, or 5th or lower with the fastest lap. Under that scenario, Verstappen would hold an unassailable 139 points advantage over Leclerc heading to the Japanese Grand Prix, with a maximum of 138 points on offer over the final 5 races, with 25 for victory, 1 for fastest lap and 8 points for the sprint win at Interlagos, with Perez outscored by either 14 or the required 13 points. The next set of numbers are based around Verstappen winning the race and setting the fastest lap, meaning Leclerc would miss out if he finished 8th or lower, a 22-point difference, with Perez 4th or lower, a 14-point difference. If Verstappen is unable to win and achieve those aforementioned points gains over the competition, the title race will roll on to Suzuka, with another set of permutations coming into play. But Verstappen has the car and the ability at his disposal to make the win at Singapore. But will he? Guess we will have to wait till we get to Singapore to find out. But what do you guys think? Will Verstappen become a 2-time world champion at Singapore? Will Ferrari bring the challenge to Red Bull and Max Verstappen to keep title hopes alive? Or will we witness a shocker by Mercedes taking their first win of the season at Singapore? Let us know in the comments section below.